Yeah. Welcome to Comic Book Wednesdays, a weekly series where we talk about comic books. We're your hosts. I'm Ian.
Howdy, I'm Al.
How's it going? I'm Shane.
If you enjoy our content, please comment, like, subscribe. So it's been a little bit of time since we've recorded. This week we're actually reading. We read 6 different issues. We started with Avengers 15, 16, 17 by Jonathan Hickman, and then we kind of slid into our first event, Infinity. We read the first issue of that. We've also read 2 tie-in books, New Avengers 8 and Avengers 18, all by Jonathan Hickman. And again, we're slowly making our way forward to Secret Wars. So where we had last stopped, the Avengers were kind of seeing the accumulation of the origin bombs that were sent to Earth, and we kind of see like them starting to activate. And I think this week we actually kind of seen the conclusion of that, what they did, their purpose, which to me, like, it was a little lackluster. If I'm being honest, I wasn't a huge like. I get their purpose. I just wish there was more to it.
Oh no, that's totally fair because I expected a little bit more myself, not just there's suddenly ads, like in video games terms, of course, but just like I thought there was gonna be some like really heavy weirdness, not just go fight a bunch of shit.
I think that's fair. I mean,
So it definitely threw me off. I'm not gonna lie.
totally. I mean, so like to clarify the whole ads thing, I mean, they had to fight bugs, they had to fight robots. I guess no, stone monolith people whose heads were like completely rectangular, and then also one robot. It was one.
Yeah, one robot, the big guy.
Who absolutely just beat the shit out of him.
He did. He totally beat the shit out of them, and the big robot was what was breaking out of the cocoon on AIM Island.
Which I do have to say, I enjoyed the robot fight, jumping around a little bit here, simply because with all of the dialogue they included in the robot fight, we had moments where where the robot was saying like, "Okay, activate defenses, check on user." Like, I got the sense that this robot had a pilot inside of it, and the pilot was just not waking up. But then the robot was putting out zero effort into what it was doing against the Avengers while they were trying their best. So that was nice to see, like, this pseudo-villain absolutely wipe the floor with them, but also the Avengers wasn't even its primary target, which was kind of fascinating.
Like, I don't even know if it had a primary target. It essentially was just trying to protect the origin bomb location, and the Avengers were just a threat in the way. But like, why? And I guess this really hasn't come to a conclusion because it didn't answer that question. Like, where this come from? Why is this? Well, we know where it came from, but like, but why is it a thing? Is it trying to protect the system? Is that all it is? It's defensives, maybe.
And how does it tie into the kid that got his powers? Like, I mean,
I think Starbrand is separate from the origin bombs stuff.
yeah,
So
but
like,
it started at almost the same part of the story. You know what I mean? Like, one
Okay.
happened with the other.
well,
Almost.
my thought
Builders
is like the reason the Earth is in such turmoil is because of these origin bombs. It's transforming it into something it's not supposed to be. And the Earth's response was to create the Star Brand, but because the Earth was damaged, the Star Brand was created incorrectly, which is what caused the issue with him to begin with. That's just my theory.
There was some really interesting dialogue with Starbrand, because initially, like, you had this kid who couldn't control his powers, to then somebody who was like, well, now wait a minute, like, why do I know all of this? And they were like, okay, well, the power thing happened pretty instantly, but everything else is happening like a little bit slower. And so he's getting all of this knowledge and all of this perspective, which I find really cool because it's also evolving him as a character, not just his powers. So that was really interesting to see.
Right. He was someone who was really brash to begin with, and now he's kind of slowing down and thinking about things before he's acting, because we learned that, like, the Dyson sphere that the Avengers kind of put him in as a prison, it can't hold him. And he realizes it can't hold him, and he still chooses not to leave and break out. He's like, I'm going to learn to control myself, which is a great move for the character. And you kind of you see him become more of a hero in that sense. And I hope that continues, because I like his character.
That dialogue sequence was perhaps one of my absolute favorites, when he had said, like, what do you see? And he just goes, like, this can't contain it. And he goes, right, so do you want to leave? And he's like, no. And the person he's talking to was just like, okay, great, let's continue.
Yep, let's continue our training. It would be really cool to see that on the big screen one day. I don't think you would ever see this story particularly transformed, but to get the Star brand on big screen, I think would be cool.
That would be epic.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. I don't see it happening, but it would be cool to see.
I never thought that we would see a talking tree, and a tree and a raccoon.
This is true. This is true.
Guardians of the Galaxy are totally out there. So, but like, I feel like Star brand is just a little bit more down to earth, oddly enough, but almost literally.
Well, it goes back to something that Erskine told Steve Rogers in Captain America, where he goes, like, the serum just enhances whatever is there, when he was talking about Red Skull. So, like, this kid who was a bully, who was pretty much a nobody, like, didn't immediately choose to be evil. He chose to just be himself, which was someone who learns.
Mm-hmm. That's a great way to look at it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the Origin Bomb locations, their whole purpose was essentially to. And it looks like they're putting a signal to the builders and their robot race, the Alfs. And they're going to come and judge Earth and decide if they want to evolve them to the next era of humanity, or if they're going to destroy them. And, like, we can kind of gather that they're probably going to try to destroy them, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like you're going that way. So
Captain Universe decides that they're going to take Manifold out to space to meet the builders and kind of show the threat. And because Captain Universe is insane, kind of tells Manifold to bring the message himself to Captain Rogers. And that way the Avengers...
Universe was like, they're not going to believe me, right?
Right, because she's insane. Yeah. And the response to that is they increase the Avengers roster, and I feel like that's the end of the first 3 issues there, right? They expand the roster to include our favorite golden spiky guy from Mars and his sister, Smoke Lady.
Yes.
Those are the actual names of the characters, and not something that I just pulled out my ass.
A different name there. Right?
They might
The
have.
name was different.
Yeah, no, it's
Dear Man and Smoke Lady, I like it.
Yep, Martians, or
them damn Martians don't know any better.
And it's odd that they're on the team now, because they're the reason the whole thing started to begin with.
Yeah.
I felt like Cap was kind of like, all right, well, these guys did this, so I guess we could just help them, have them unfuck everything.
Well, it makes sense to have them because they know the system, right? They were built by the builders.
Yeah.
And they're being ordered by Captain Universe basically to be good guys, and they consider Captain Universe their god. So I guess it makes sense, but like still, it's kind of like, And if all, like, you couldn't just have like gotten more name brand characters on the team. Nope. Okay, I guess we'll just have add these guys. And of course, then they add Adam and Starbrand to the team too, which also I think that was just naturally going to happen, which was good.
Yeah, I did like that. I'm not gonna. It did confuse me a little bit when they were just like, "Okay, let's go ask them to be Avengers," because I was like, "Really? You maybe shouldn't, but okay, if you're gonna."
Yeah. And maybe it'll make sense as we continue the story. Like they're going to have a key role going forward or something like that.
Yeah.
But let's move on to Infinity because I feel like now that we're in the event, we want to just kind of focus on that a little bit.
God, that issue was huge.
That was a really big issue.
It was a big. What was it, like double the normal comic?
Pages.
Yeah, so about double. It had a lot to it, and I remember I read a little bit online about the issue to see why it was so big. It actually recapped a comic book issue that was given out for free during Free Comic Book Day the year that came out. So like the first half of it was all part of the Free Comic Book Day issue, and then the rest of it was their main issue. So
yeah, it was kind of weird how it was like broken up into sections like that.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's what we're seeing there. It was like two comic books kind of put together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if it was something that they did just for the app for us, or if that's how they released the issue. I could probably look. I think I have Infinity in my closet. I'd have to go grab it, but not important. So what do we gather from this one? I think it's like Thanos is spying on Earth, essentially.
Yeah, like trying to learn the secret from Black Bolt, which the amount of training that Black Bolt has, and because like you could see that the thing that Thanos sent was like going through different people and like infiltrating
this was the one
things.
with the four-legged creature or whatever thing that
like,
stuck his hand inside Black Bolt's mind.
Yeah, it almost looked like a Chitauri, but I knew it wasn't, you know?
Yeah.
But then Black Bolt was like, "Get out of my head!" Like, who the fuck trained you, dude?
Right. I mean, like, they were talking up the alien like he was like this, like really good, like, reconnaissance expert. Like, yeah, he was like, he's like a pro, like, at infiltrating and gathering information and all that. You know, I guess he never just went up against the king of the Inhumans before.
Yeah, no,
but even then,
fatal mistake.
He got away. He did what he had to, right? And
lost an arm doing it, right?
He did, yeah.
Missed an arm.
He got fucked. Excuse my language. And then Thanos learns that the Avengers have left Earth to go meet the Builders in space. So now they're defenseless. I mean,
in a way,
their defense.
The Earth is really ever defenseless,
right? Because you still have the X-Men, the Illuminati, all of Wakanda, all of Atlantis,
the Fantastic Four,
all of them.
I did like the fact that when Thanos was like, let's go after Earth, even his people were like, "Yo, are you sure?"
Like, you
like, are we doing this?
Isn't that the place you got your cheeks turned in, Thanos? You think you might want to not go there again? Nah,
I'm not gonna get my cheeks slapped.
He's like, my cheeks are healed. I'm going back.
Going in for round two, baby.
Yeah, right.
Glutton for punishment, you know.
Yeah. Oh, and I think what's interesting. This is the first time in comics where the Black Order is introduced. So, like the team that Thanos runs with in the MCU, Ebony Maw, Proxima Midnight, big hulking monster, I forget his name, and then what is what's the other dude, the guy with the spear? What's his name?
I can't remember.
Let me see if I saved it.
The one that like basically tries to get Vision and like knocks Shuri out at the end of Avengers Infinity War. That guy, forget his name, but he's in it. He plays a big part in that Infinity comic, and I just can't remember his name because he's just alien in my mind.
No, that's fair because I just had it too. Funny enough, the creature that we were talking about potentially like might have been like not Chitauri, but that alien that Thanos was talking to.
Mm-hmm.
That looked suspiciously like one of the members of his crew in the movies. So until they showed the roster, I thought it was.
That's fair. I mean, honestly, like Alien looks like Alien, right? Until another alien shows up and it looks different. So
Right.
Because reasons, yeah.
yeah, because I mean, like they're just gray humanoid, like just kind of what it is. But yeah, no, it's interesting.
Proxima Midnight. Is that the one?
No,
talking about?
Proxima Midnight is the girl.
That's the chick, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Proxima Midnight, Ebony Maw, and there was like the giant alien and the one with the swords. Yeah. No, that's gonna bug me until I look it up later. Damn it.
Doing it now.
Okay, thank you, because my brain would not let that go.
Corvus Glaive. Damn it! I knew that. And I think the big guy's called Supergiant or Black Dwarf. Either one. There's two names there.
Okay.
But yeah, and then so basically the first issue of Infinity is really just setting up Thanos coming to Earth, which I thought was a good place to stop it. And then we kind of learn a little bit more about Black Bolt and the secret. Not only is he holding a secret that Thanos wants, but he hasn't really told anybody about it. He's holding it from the Illuminati. He's holding it from his wife. And like they're
well, did I say he's holding it from the Illuminati, or is the secret he's holding the thing about Steve? You know, like not or getting his memory wiped and all that. Because I didn't get that they held it. He's holding anything from the Illuminati.
Do you think the secret is the incursions and like the end of the?
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of leaning towards. Is it seemed like that was more of what they were trying to hide.
Okay, I mean that kind of makes sense. I got the impression it was more than that, but like you could be right. I could just be misreading it.
I did get the impression it might have been something. Well, no, in that context, it does make a little bit of sense because I know that they had mentioned the Illuminati and the Infinity Gems, and or the Infinity Stones. They're like, "Oh no, we're not after that. We want like this other secret." And they're like, "What the fuck is this other thing?" And Thanos is just like, "Well, the Earth is undefected and undefended," and they're like, Black Bolt is the one that knows this. Either way, I'm invested.
Yeah, no, totally. I'm looking forward to reading more of the new Avengers tie-ins, just because like getting more of that side of the story is what really interesting me. But like I don't think there's much more we can talk about as far as that is, because that's still like very early in that story, and we have a lot of questions just haven't been answered yet.
Yeah, for sure.
We do know that like the Black Order is now on Earth, and they are at every spot that you can think of that the Illuminati are tied to. So it's going to be interesting to see them spread thin and battle it out on Earth. And then, like we mentioned, the Avengers are off planet and they're fighting the Builders. And I don't think things went too well for them, if I remember correctly. They kind of thought they ambushed them, and then they ended up getting ambushed themselves.
Yeah, they had that alliance
pushed in a little bit
with the Skrulls, and right as soon as they were just like, okay, we like attack the lead command ship, yay, it's destroyed. And then the lead command ship was like, okay, decloak everything else. These guys are useless.
Yeah, well, that also reminds me, there was a whole like backstory to the Skrulls commander that I just didn't need.
Yeah, no, I didn't need any of that information for the Skrulls. It disinterests me entirely for the episode.
That was very hard to get through. I was like, why am I reading about alien blah blue blog? I don't need to know about you.
No, I had the same moment where I was like, okay, cool. Like, Skrulls are coming together to fight something, and here's this one dude. All right, get to the fucking point.
Yeah, like let's see the battle already. So like majority of that issue for me was just useless backstory for this Skrull commander that's probably just never going to be seen after this story again. Like,
nah.
I mean, one of the Skrull things that I did think was interesting is when the Avengers were going to look for the Skrulls, and they found that, like, family that was way too calm and just like, oh, we're just here eating pizza. Don't mind us.
Yeah.
It's like, come on.
And then they made them transform back.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you don't need the social cues, because if anybody blew down my door, my first thought wouldn't be, you want some pizza? It'd be, who the fuck are you?
Right, exactly. Like, what the fuck?
I do have a question. Who is so... Okay, we know that the Avengers are off-planet for Thanos coming to the Earth. We have, what, the Fantastic Four, Stephen Strange, Wakandans, and the Atlanteans that are left, right?
And the X-Men.
Well, and Tony's back on Earth, right?
Tony's on
At the
Earth.
end-
Also,
at the end of that episode, he came back.
don't think all of the Fantastic Four are on Earth. Yeah, there's a small piece of dialogue between Reed and Tony that makes me think that the Fantastic Four are like across the universe somewhere.
Doing a thing?
Like, I forget the exact wording, but like Tony's like, aren't you supposed to be in another like dimension or somewhere? Or he's like,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
and
I thought
then
he was just jabbing at him, but that makes sense.
and like Doom alluded to it too for a little bit in that one issue like a couple weeks ago. So
you're right.
something's going on there. So I think the Fantastic Four are like off planet, and I'm curious as to what that is. I haven't finished Hickman's Fantastic Four run yet because honestly, like it's come to a grinding halt. Like I'm just like, geez, this is really hard to get through right now.
Oh, is it just useless info or just like backstory and shit?
So like he was telling a really good story that like I got through and it like came to a nice finite end and I was like, oh, that was really good. And then he still has like 10 books left on his run. And I'm like, what is this? This is just nonsense. Like I don't need to read all this. Like this is, and I'm sure it'll get somewhere, but like you should have just cut your book off there. I think sales must have been high, so they're like, put more
Keep it
out.
going.
You know?
Cash
Milk it
cow,
for all it's worth.
Yeah, milk it. But yeah, no, I think like going forward, we're gonna be told a story from like 3 different points of view.
Mm-hmm.
The space front, the Earth front, and then from Thanos' point of view. Because I just have the feeling like we're gonna get more from his end too. And I apologize if you can hear that ringing in the background, guys, but my wife's phone is ringing.
Oh, I cannot actually.
Okay, good.
I didn't hear shit.
Hopefully it didn't pick up for the recording then. I don't know. I personally don't have anything else I want to touch on these issues. I feel like we've went over a lot. Do you guys have anything?
Good info. I'm excited to continue on.
Yeah, no, I'm good with that.
Okay.
Now on to She-Hulk.
Yeah, we can talk a little She-Hulk. Shane, you're crazy.
A truer statement has never been uttered.
So, wait a second. Fill me in, because I haven't talked to Shane about this yet, so...
So, Shane thought it was the worst, dumbest piece of Marvel content that he has ever seen.
Yeah, you're nuts, dude. You're out of your mind.
piece of Marvel
This was the
TV
best
show.
episode by far of the entire show.
Of
Well, okay,
of this show alone.
I So Ian had to set me straight for some things because we've established many times as we've recorded that I do not have a lot of comic book knowledge. So I go into these shows and movies with medium expectations. Like the only Marvel movie that I've completely disliked has been Eternals.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my least favorite ones. I've watched it
Well,
once.
I
I
mean,
don't really think I'm going to watch it again.
That's kind of understandable. I don't know too many people who really enjoyed that movie.
For She-Hulk, like for me personally, there were a lot of things in there that confused me that Ian had to explain, and I'll get into that. So, sorry if you can hear my cat. He decided now he wants to participate as well.
It's okay. Hi, Cat.
Okay, so the fighting scenes and the lawyer scenes with Matt Murdock, I really liked. I was really happy to finally see him on screen.
Okay.
That part I really did enjoy. Then there was the him and her having that intimate moment, but then he did the walk of shame away from her apartment with his boots off. And so, me having no comic book knowledge, I was like, wait, is this really something Matt Murdock would do? Because I don't know the character very well. But also, he did that whole speech in the thing of oh yeah, I'm not really a be known kind of person. And then in broad daylight, here he is just walking away from her apartment. I wasn't sure if that was purposeful humor or if they were just
I
being
think that
dumb.
was all
So that
that
confused
was.
me.
I don't think you would necessarily do that in the comic. I just think it was for the show's effect. I do think
Okay.
they toned him down quite a bit for this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He's a pretty gritty character, and they definitely played him down. But yeah, I really enjoyed the episode. I thought it was fun. I thought it was entertaining, and finally getting to see Daredevil again was awesome.
Yeah, I
More
absolutely.
than just a 30-second clip in Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, it was the whole episode or majority of the episode had him in it, which was great. I liked funny Daredevil, and it wasn't overly in your face funny Daredevil. He still had some cool action moments.
The fact that they gave him the rope baton was fantastic.
That was
Oh
a cool
yeah,
weapon. I definitely agree.
so cool.
Is
and
that
then
a
also,
thing that he uses, or is that just a...
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
one of his go-to
Okay.
weapons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you'll see that a lot more of that too going forward. Also, the whole Matt is basically a male slut. He sleeps with everybody. So the fact that they were able to do that on a Disney Plus show that was basically rated E for everybody. She-Hulk has been very tame,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you only imagine when they kind of up the ante a bit as far as the PG-13. I don't think they'll do an R rating with him. They'll try to keep it PG-13, but so we're gonna see some more of Matt the way he's supposed to be, and I'm excited.
Well, and so I heard today also that this Daredevil show is supposed to bring a lot more of those characters back from
That's the
Netflix
rumor.
shows,
Oh,
and it's
I didn't
supposed
know
to
that.
set up the next Spider-Man movie. So
I
we could
shit.
potentially get a Spider-Man Daredevil crossover.
Yeah, so I read those rumors as well. Of course, grain of salt, but
Yeah, absolutely.
The whole idea behind that is Vincent D'Onofrio, Charlie Cox, and Tom Holland have all said that they want to do a Spider-Man Daredevil movie. They all have said that. The whole idea with
awesome.
Kingpin being the villain, and that would be sick. I'd be
The
so
three of
into
them in a movie would make... I would lose my shit.
No, that's a $1 billion box office. No matter which way you cut it.
Yeah, Kevin Feige's gonna get a sweet check.
Yeah.
Right, and so with Sony, so they would be kind of silly not to do it. And then go back to She-Hulk real quick. The whole walk of shame scene with Daredevil that's just them being stupid. Like, that's all that is. It's just,
Yep.
and then the whole like gala at the end, like,
That part bothered me.
what about it bothered you? Like the whole like it felt like it wasn't part of the episode, or
Well, no, because like like you and I had talked about, I understand that they have to do the like fourth wall break, and even she addressed it where she was just like, "This should be the end of the episode. Is next week the finale? Oh shit, we have to do the gala." Like, I was like, okay, I see the humor there. They're basically pulling a Deadpool, but like toned down. I get it. That's fair. The reason the gala thing bothered me, and I don't know if I'm just like looking into this too much. Maybe you guys can like set me straight here. So in the beginning of She-Hulk, she made the comment to Bruce that because of the way that like women are treated in society, she has more of a control over her emotions than Bruce would, which is why turning into She-Hulk is so easy for her. And even Bruce was like, "Oh shit, I didn't think about that." Which, valid point. I completely understand that. And then she had to embarrass herself with Titania. I think I'm pronouncing her name right. With the like She-Hulk name, and like had all these people like show like, "Oh yeah, did you date her?" Like, "Oh, I dated her and I didn't like it." Blah blah blah. But then like these guys put up that video where they were calling her a slut and like insulting her for like her power and insulting her for like being She-Hulk and being a woman. And it felt like she just kind of lost her shit, which, first, to be fair, anybody fucking would. So
right.
I understand that. But it felt like that they were taking that original point and like not going in the best direction that they could. I just felt like the writing for that scene could have been a little better.
So the way I kind of look at that was that it was the Hulk coming out in her more than Jen not being able to control her anger. You know what I mean? Like, that is the raw rage Hulk that we got, or that we would get from Bruce's Hulk. You know what I mean? Coming
Yeah,
through.
like the eyeball transformation and everything, like I could tell that that was just raw rage.
Right. So, I think, yes, Jen has the ability to keep her cool until the Hulk takes over. And I feel like that was the kind of showing of the Hulk taking over and being like, okay, well, Jen's not always, you know, able to push that back down.
Yeah.
Right. I think like Jen's statement still holds true from the beginning of the show. It's just that now this is something she's never had to deal with before. Like at a moment where like she was being honored, then got completely slandered and embarrassed, not only in front of her peers, but also her family, who like she's really close to. She really cares about them, and she cares about what her family thinks about her. So like, I just feel like it pushed her to somewhere she's never been before, and that's where we're at. And I'm sure in the next episode, she's gonna learn to cope with that.
And I'm sure it'll explain it more, but like when she got angry and like busted up the stage and like everybody started screaming and running because they were all of a sudden like afraid of her, it felt like, at least, and again this is just for me, that some people in the audience, even though she was being more Hulk than Jen, really shouldn't have been super afraid. Like her parents, for example, like she's cousins with fucking Bruce Banner. Then how her parents were like, "Oh God, we have to run away. She's gonna destroy everything." Like, they know Bruce, they know the Hulk. I just felt like that part was just a little lazy in terms of writing.
That's fair.
See Age of Ultron, Hulk destroying Lagos, and you tell me that you'd live in that world and not be terrified of a raging Hulk.
No. Those people had a right to be afraid of him, absolutely. And like for the most part, like when Tony was fighting him with the Hulkbuster armor, Tony, like, and when he spit out the tooth and looked at him, and even Tony was like, "I'm sorry," like they had a plan, the plan failed, and they knew that they needed to contain it, but I just felt like there was no attempt to, God, I don't know. It just felt weird to me.
I think your problem is with it is that Jen is so much more the smart Hulk than the raging Hulk, and I think you give it too much, not credit, but you know, it's too easy to just think of her as she shouldn't do this. You know, there's no reason for her to be bursting out and destroying stuff like that. But I think that's more of what they need to show that a little bit more so people understand that she is not just the pretty Hulk. You know what I mean?
I think part of it might be that I think I had, because I do want that. I do want more of the angry Gen Hulk. I think for me, it would be nicer if there was more episodes of that, because like every single episode was all about her controlling everything, and then in this, like, she loses control, which I feel like that's really important to show. But I just wanted a little bit more of a build up to that moment.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, the show really has been kind of like, I think, just like a lot of filler. Like they
Well,
wrote.
I know you said originally the show was supposed to be just a goofy courtroom TV show.
Yeah.
And I feel like the last couple of episodes have moved past that point, which is what I wanted from the beginning. You know, like, yeah, it would have been fun to be a courtroom, blah, blah, blah. But, like, let's go over to the Daredevil Netflix side. They did the courtroom thing, and then they also did the mix of Daredevil really well. You know what I mean? And I don't feel like
that.
She-Hulk has that continuity.
No, and I think that's on purpose. That's what I like. This show was not written with a plot, and it was. There is a plot. I'm sorry. It's very, but it's not the focus. Like, this was very sitcom-y, episode to episode, and not like told as a narrative over the course of several episodes. This was very much like you get your little bits of story at the end of the episode. Like, the last minute or so is when you get your progressing plot, which was very like CW of it. You know what I mean? I don't know if you guys ever seen any of the CW shows. The whole episode feels like filler, and then the last 5 minutes is like, oh my god, Harrison Wells is the Reverse Flash. Spoiler was like,
scary.
like that's basically what the show is going for, and it's honestly the type of TV I hate. And I don't hate She-Hulk. I want it to be like Daredevil. I want it to have a narrative written plot, and like we could just like the whole show cohesively flows to the next episode, and you don't have these filler moments. However, it would not have been able to bring the comedy as well as, I don't think, if it was the other way.
I think if it was written really well, it would have been able to. Like, I just think that it was not their best project.
No, it's not their worst either, at least in my opinion. But it's not their best. I still think. I'm counting What If. I still think What If was my least favorite of TV
I was
project.
a huge fan of that, but I don't count that on the same lines as the rest of the MCU. You know, like that doesn't. I don't know. I just don't get the same feel from that.
Yeah. Well, let's do this.
I don't think I have a least favorite show. I mean, this was definitely, like I said, my least favorite episode, but I don't think I have a least favorite show quite yet.
Well, let's do this. We'll come back when we come back next week. Let's have a ranking set up of just the shows, and we can kind of discuss that, because we'll finish She-Hulk next week, and then we'll be able to talk about it. And then let's wrap up here a little bit. knowing that you two have not seen Werewolf by Night yet, we will talk about it eventually. I'm going to wait for both of you to watch it. I'm just going to say, I'm just going to throw this out there. It has cracked my top 10 of all-time
Wow.
MCU. I love
Which
it.
for you is a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a pretty high rating.
Yeah, it's concise in what it does, and it's just such beautiful. It's shot really good, and it brings the grittiness to Marvel, which I feel like we need. And if they can just harness that tone in things like Deadpool and things like Daredevil, I think we'll be pretty happy. But let me wrap up here. We've been talking for a bit. So next week we are going to do New Avengers 9, Infinity 2, and New Avengers 10. So we're going to get a lot more of that story that we've been so intrigued by. So I just want to thank everybody for listening. Please subscribe, like, comment, interact with us.
We appreciate it.
And I'm Ian.
I'm Al.
I'm Shane.
And this was Comic Book Wednesdays. Have a good night, everybody.
Take it easy.